Rain taps the window like a lullaby too tired to sing. The house immense, modern, cold holds its breath. Cameras blink softly in the corners. No sound, no footsteps, just the low hum of electricity and sorrow. And then, a whisper of fabric. A woman's hand, warm and trembling, touches a doorframe. She steps in. Her name is Amara. The house is run by an app. Lights dim on a schedule. Meals arrive via automated carts. The children's medications are dispensed through a sterile chute in the wall. Every room has sensors. Every door has voice command. And yet, no one speaks. Mr. Nathaniel Rowe, 47, billionaire technologist, walks like a man haunted by noise only he can hear. His shirt is pressed. His watch ticks in quiet precision. He built this house after the accident, after the twins stopped moving, after his wife, Clara, died. The twins, Oscar and Owen, haven't walked or spoken since the crash. 2 years, no movement, no voice, no answers. Specialists fly in and out, leaving prescriptions and suggestions that smell like failure. Nathaniel watches from glass corridors. He sees them lying in separate smart beds, connected to quiet machines. Breathing. Just breathing. Eyes open, sometimes, but always distant. He installed the CCTV system 6 months ago. 32 cameras, every angle of the house. Not because he was suspicious, because he was afraid to miss a miracle. But nothing ever changes. Until today, Amara doesn't belong here. She arrives with a canvas bag, a Bible tucked between diapers and a jar of balm. No degree, no references, just a letter from a nun in Ibadan and eyes that see what others ignore. The agency sent her as a temporary replacement. The regular nurse caught a fever. They said she'd be gone by morning. She steps into the twins' room barefoot. Nathaniel watches from the main control room camera feed flickering in the center of 12 glowing screens. He narrows his eyes. The maid does not log into the system, does not check the medical protocols, does not pull the tablet mounted to the wall. Instead, she kneels between the two boys like she's praying. She hums something, soft, old, a tune his wife used to sing. He blinks, then scoffs. Coincidence? It must be. He closes the screen. Oscar blinks. Only once. It's subtle, but Amara sees it. She's holding a cloth, damp, with warm water, and gently dabbing behind his ears. Not because it's required, but because his mother once said he loved warmth behind the ears. She knows. She read it in a notebook left under the bed, a faded green notebook with Clara's cursive handwriting, half filled with motherly notes. Oscar sleeps better when you hum first. Owen likes the color blue, not yellow. Amara had no right to read it, but when she touched the spine of the book, it felt like a prayer. Oscar blinks again. His eyelids flutter like wings remembering flight. She doesn't say a word, but she smiles. Nathaniel watches her again that night. He rewinds the feed from the afternoon, zooms in, frame by frame. She leans down, touches Owen's cheek. Her thumb grazes his temple. Owen's lips part for a second. Nathaniel presses pause. The house is silent. His own office, a museum of achievement, feels suddenly small. He rubs his forehead, drinks cold coffee, types an instruction to HR to remove the maid in the morning. And yet, he doesn't hit send. At 3:12 a.m., the storm hits harder. A crack of thunder, a flicker of lights. One camera blinks out. In the twins' room, Amara is already there. She sits between them on a mat, legs folded, her voice a hush. Even the winds obey him, she murmurs. Her voice is steady. She tells a story from the Bible, not with preaching but like a memory. Once there was a storm, she says, and everyone thought the boat would break, but he was sleeping. And when they woke him, he didn't yell, he didn't panic. He stood up and whispered to the waves. Silence. Peace, she says, almost inaudibly. Then she reaches across, takes one twin's hand in her left, the other in her right. 2 still bodies, 2 broken boys. But in the dark, they breathe deeper. The rain slows. Nathaniel walks the corridor, eyes tired, heart unsure. He pulls up the CCTV again, re-watches the midnight feed. No scientific explanation. Just a woman sitting between 2 boys in the middle of a storm. And peace. He clicks audio. Her voice fills the room. Peace. Be still. He stares at the screen for a long time, then looks toward the hallway. toward the children's room. He doesn't walk in, but he stands there, listening. Amara finds the second notebook. It's hidden behind a panel near the bookshelf. More notes from Clara. This one older, more raw. My husband no longer looks me in the eye. I see the boys closing up, like him. How do I reach them again? Amara reads the last entry aloud. If I am gone, remind Nathaniel, warmth is not weakness. She holds the notebook to her chest. A single tear rolls down her cheek. She does not cry for herself. Midweek, a tall woman in a suit enters the estate, a staff supervisor. She looks Amara up and down. There's been a reassignment, she says coldly. You'll be replaced this evening. Amara doesn't fight it. She nods, quietly finishes folding the twins' pajamas. Oscar's fingers twitch. The supervisor doesn't notice, but Amara does. She kneels again beside his bed, not as a caretaker, but like a mother who's known him all his life. Thank you for trusting me, she whispers. And then, Owen's toes curl. Nathaniel watches it happen. Live. He freezes, fingers poised above his desk. The replacement order is still open. He deletes it. That evening, the house is different. Nathaniel walks past the garden window. The CCTV shows Amara singing outside with both windows open. A soft hum, no lyrics, just melody, gentle, from the earth, familiar, lullaby. Oscar's eyes follow the sound. Owen's lips move, though no words come. Nathaniel lowers into a chair, hand over his mouth. His voice breaks in the silence. Clara? No one answers. But for the first time in years, he feels breath in the house. Not just systems, not just silence, breath. Amara walks the hallway with a candle. Not because there's no light, but because it's what Clara used to do when the twins had fevers. Fire chases fear, Clara had written in the notebook. The twins are asleep, peaceful. Nathaniel watches from his usual place. He doesn't speak. He doesn't cry. But the CCTV feed records him placing a hand over his chest. It rises and falls, like breath. Voiceover pause. Rain outside. Lullaby humming. Then silence. The door is already open when Amara arrives the next morning. She doesn't knock. She never does. Not out of disrespect, but because silence has become the children's language, and she refuses to break it. Nathaniel notices. From his office, high above the eastern wing, he watches the moment she enters through the side corridor. Most of the staff use the main service entrance, but Amara chooses the back walkway, the one Clara once used when she needed time alone. The morning light hits her shoulders as she passes the small garden. There's dew on the grass, and her slippers are wet before she steps inside. She doesn't mind. In the nursery, Oscar is awake but unmoving. Owen's eyes are closed, but his hand twitches again just once. Amara sets down her bag softly, then leans into the quiet, as if listening for something only she can hear. She doesn't rush. She never does. She begins to hum. It's not the same lullaby as yesterday. This one is slower, deeper, almost like a song from before language. It fills the room with something unnameable, warmth, maybe, or memory. Oscar blinks. Owen's breathing deepens. Nathaniel watches the monitor. He leans closer, zooms in. The boys' heart rate monitors register small spikes, nothing dramatic, just enough to suggest presence. The doctors would call it coincidence, neural misfires, residual motor reflexes. But Nathaniel sees something different. Still, he says nothing. He types a note. Collect neurological data next week. Install thermal motion sensors by window. He hesitates before sending it. Deletes it. Saves the footage instead. Downstairs, Amara takes off her slippers. The cold floor doesn't startle her. She walks barefoot between the beds, one hand on Oscar's sheet, the other reaching toward Owen's pulse. She doesn't speak. She doesn't ask them to move. She just touches and waits. When she leaves the room to fetch a bowl of warm water, Nathaniel stands for the first time that morning. He walks to the nursery door and stops. He doesn't enter, but he looks inside. The boys are still. The room smells faintly of lavender. On the wall shelf, Clara's old green notebook has been moved. Not hidden, not displayed, just shifted slightly, open to a page she once wrote when the twins were learning to crawl. They don't need music, she had written. They need warmth and a reason to reach. Nathaniel stares at the page, then turns away. In the kitchen, Amara stirs something in a pot. Not part of her job, the kitchen is automated. Meals are calculated by nutritionists and dispensed by calibrated arms. But Amara boils yam, not for the twins, for the old gardener outside who hasn't been seen in 2 weeks. When the agency manager calls her phone, she lets it ring. Nathaniel watches her do it. From the hallway monitor, he listens to the soft clang of the wooden spoon, the bubbling water, the faint hum of an old gospel tune under her breath. He remembers Clara humming that song while folding socks. He walks away again. Outside, the wind picks up. Leaves scatter across the long stone path to the garden. Oscar's window is slightly open. The curtain lifts gently. Oscar's eyes shift. He is watching the curtain dance. At lunchtime, a nurse arrives from the hospital. Clipboard in hand, white coat, polished shoes. She walks like someone used to being obeyed. Nathaniel meets her in the foyer. They speak in low tones. Amara doesn't interrupt. She returns to the boys' room with a damp cloth and a new bottle of balm. She kneels by Owen and places her hand on his chest. His breathing steadies. "Still here," she whispers. The nurse enters a moment later, frowns at her position, and says sharply, "Ma'am, we ask that unlicensed caregivers refrain from physical contact during assessments." Amara doesn't flinch. She rises slowly, respectfully, and bows her head. "Of course," she says. "May I stay in the room?" The nurse pauses, sighs. "Fine, just observe." She begins her checkup, calling out numbers, touching limbs, raising eyelids. Her hands are clinical, her face unreadable. When she leans over Oscar, he blinks 3 times. The nurse misses it, but Amara sees. She says nothing, just smiles. When the nurse leaves, she types her report without looking back. Amara returns to the room after lunch. She opens the notebook again. This time, it's the second one, Clara's deeper journal. The private one, the one with fear in the margins. "I'm afraid they're becoming mirrors," Clara once wrote, reflections of Nathaniel's grief. "If they disappear into that silence, I won't know how to bring them back." Amara reads that line aloud. Oscar exhales sharply. Owen stirs in his sleep. Nathaniel watches it from his office. He rewinds again, plays it in slow motion. Oscar's chest rises more than usual. His fingers curl. He says nothing. But he doesn't log out of the camera feed that night. At 2:08 a.m., the system logs movement in the boys' room. Not much, just a thermal shift. The cameras adjust. In the soft grayscale feed, Amara is seated in the rocking chair between the beds. She's singing. No words, just the sound. And Nathaniel watches. He watches as Owen lifts a finger. Oscar shifts his neck. Not a miracle, but a whisper of one. The next morning, the supervisor calls again. Says Amara's temporary assignment has ended. Nathaniel listens to the voicemail. Deletes it. Amara is in the garden now, with a watering can, barefoot again, humming to the orchids. Nathaniel steps outside. He doesn't mean to. He tells himself it's just to get fresh air. But their eyes meet for the first time. She doesn't smile, doesn't speak, just nods. He nods back. And for the first time in 2 years, he walks down the garden path without checking his phone, without checking the app. He just walks and breathes. And the house, for a moment, feels less like a system and more like a home. The sun doesn't rise any faster than usual, but something about the way it touches the stone floor today feels softer, as if the house is starting to remember how to receive light. Nathaniel stands by the window, his coffee cooling in his hand. He hasn't sipped it. He doesn't even like coffee. Clara used to say the aroma helped her write. He kept the habit after she died. Maybe as a ritual, maybe as a form of punishment. Down below, Amara is already in the garden. She moves slowly, not because of laziness, but because she notices things, the way dew clings to petals, the way birds wait 3 seconds after silence before they start to sing, the way warmth lingers in a place where someone prayed. Nathaniel watches her, but not like before. This time, it isn't suspicion, it's curiosity, a question forming. Why does the air around her feel alive? Inside the nursery, Owen's foot twitches beneath the blanket. It's not the first time, but it's the first time he does it before sunrise. Oscar's eyes follow the light that spills through the window, tracking the gold line as it stretches across the bed. Amara returns inside without shoes. Her feet leave faint, damp footprints on the marble. She doesn't wipe them. She knows they'll dry. But while they last, they matter. She hums again. Today's melody is older, raw, the kind of song people sing in small churches with cracked ceilings. A song that knows grief, but also knows resurrection. She sits on the edge of Oscar's bed and begins to rub his hands with warm coconut oil. Small circles, gentle, no rush. Oscar's fingers twitch. Twice. She notices. Of course she does. She leans forward and whispers, "Good morning." There's no reply. But something in the room shifts. Nathaniel rewinds the camera feed 4 times that afternoon, zooms in, enhances the image, measures the frame where Oscar's fingers moved. He sends the footage to a neurologist in Cape Town under a fake name. The response comes hours later. Unclear. Could be spasm, could be intentional. Keep observing. Nathaniel doesn't reply. He closes the message, but doesn't delete it. He just breathes. Later that evening, Amara finds a drawer half open in the hallway. She's never touched it before, never had a reason to. But something about the way it's left, crooked and quiet, makes her pause. Inside, folded neatly beneath an old service manual, are photographs. Clara, smiling, laughing, holding the boys as toddlers. In one photo, Nathaniel is seated behind them, not quite smiling, but present, his arms around them. Amara studies the image, traces Clara's face with her thumb. She doesn't cry, but her throat tightens. There's something sacred about grief that lingers in a drawer, not put away, not displayed, just waiting. She replaces the photo and closes the drawer with care. That night, it rains again, softly, like a memory trying to return. Nathaniel doesn't sleep. He stays by the security monitors, one hand on the pause button, one hand gripping the mug he still hasn't refilled. At 2:37 a.m., the camera in the nursery records movement. Oscar is blinking. Regularly now, as if in rhythm with Amara's hum. Owen's head shifts. Not a full turn, just a tilt, toward the sound. Amara is seated between them again, rocking slowly. She whispers, "You're safe now." Nathaniel closes his eyes. It takes effort, as if his body is relearning how to do it. The following morning, the agency calls. Again, this time, they demand to speak directly with Nathaniel. He ignores the call, but he walks to the east wing and stands in the hallway outside the nursery for 10 minutes. He doesn't go in, but he hears it. Amara's voice, soft and steady, reading aloud from the notebook. Clara's words. "She said they loved banana slices cut in circles, not halves. She said," Oscar cried when Owen got hurt, even if no one touched him. "She said they used to speak their own language, only between them, before they learned words." Nathaniel closes his eyes at that line. He remembers. 2 little voices in the back seat of the car, murmuring nonsense sounds and laughing like conspirators. Clara used to say they were soul-tied. Now, silence. Until now. He finally steps into the room. Amara looks up, not startled, just present. "Good morning, sir." Nathaniel nods, almost unsure how to speak in this room. He hasn't been in here in months. "They're warm," she says, gesturing to the boys. "Body temperature is more even today." He looks at Oscar. The boy's eyes follow him. It stops him cold. For 2 years, he's only ever seen that blank stare. But now, he's being seen. Owen makes a sound, a small one, a breathy sigh, almost like the wind through a door left ajar. Nathaniel stares. "What was that?" he whispers. Amara smiles gently. "He hears you." Nathaniel swallows hard. His hand trembles. "How?" Amara looks at the twins, then back at him. "I don't know the science, sir," she says softly, "but I know what presence can do." He exhales, unsure whether it's relief or guilt or both. "I wasn't. I haven't been present," he says quietly. She doesn't respond with pity, just stillness. Sometimes that's all a confession needs. That afternoon, he cancels the scheduled rotation. Amara's name is added to the permanent staff list. No one questions it. Nathaniel starts coming down to the nursery once a day. Never for long, just a few minutes, sometimes with a book, sometimes with a silence that feels heavier than words. Amara doesn't try to fill the silence. She lets it be. One afternoon, she invites him to hold Owen's hand. He hesitates, then does, It's small, light, but the moment his palm touches his son's skin, Owen breathes in and holds it longer than usual. Nathaniel doesn't let go. Amara hums, and the room feels full, not healed, but no longer hollow. Later that week, he passes by the kitchen and sees Amara packing something small into a cloth napkin. "What's that?" he asks. She looks up, slightly surprised to hear his voice unfiltered by the intercom. "Banana circles," she replies. He blinks. "How did you know?" She doesn't answer with words. She just lifts the corner of the notebook. Nathaniel steps forward, slowly, and rests his hand over the page. It's the same handwriting he once kissed on birthday cards. The same letters that named their children. He closes the notebook softly. "Thank you," he says. Amara nods, then leaves the room, banana slices in hand. That night, for the first time in months, Nathaniel turns off the CCTV feed before bed and sleeps, not because he stopped watching, but because he started being there. Oscar's index finger drags slowly across the window pane. He doesn't mean to leave a mark, but he does. A single, shallow line in the mist left by morning breath. The house is unusually quiet today, not for lack of sound, but because everyone is listening. Even the walls seem to wait. Amara notices first, of course. She always does. She walks into the room holding a folded flannel and a bowl of water. When she sees the trail of moisture left by Oscar's finger, she doesn't gasp or smile or shout. She simply walks closer, crouches beside him, and whispers something no one else can hear. Nathaniel sees the whole thing on the monitor. He rewinds it 6 times. Freezes the moment Oscar's finger reaches the glass. Frame by frame, he confirms it wasn't just gravity or a twitch. It was intentional, deliberate. The boy had purpose. Nathaniel doesn't call the doctors. He doesn't alert the staff. He closes the screen and stares at his hands for a long time, as if they too forgot what it means to move with feeling. At lunch, Amara slices strawberries into hearts. The boys aren't ready to chew, but she lays the shapes on a napkin and sets it between their beds anyway. "One day," she says gently, "one day you'll reach for it." That afternoon, Nathaniel walks into the nursery and stays longer than usual. He doesn't speak. He just stands beside the window where Oscar touched the glass. Amara doesn't disturb him. She keeps reading from Clara's journal in a soft voice, not theatrical, not heavy, just present. "There was a night," Clara had written, "when Oscar screamed until I placed Owen's sock on his chest. Only then did he sleep. That's how I knew they were one soul in 2 bodies." Nathaniel closes his eyes. That memory returns with painful clarity. It was just after the twins turned 2. He had thought it was superstition, mother's intuition, emotional noise. But now, he wonders how much of what she said was sacred and how much of it he ignored in the name of control. Oscar blinks. Owen's toes curl. Amara hums. The room fills with a silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels holy. That night, Nathaniel does something he hasn't done since Clara's death. He enters her old music room. The piano is still there, covered in a sheet. Forgotten. He pulls the sheet off. Dust rises like memory. He sits. His fingers hover above the keys for nearly 2 full minutes. Then, slowly, he plays the only piece he remembers. A lullaby. Clara's lullaby. Halfway through, his fingers falter. Emotion clogs his throat, his hands shake, but he finishes it. Down the hallway, Amara pauses outside the music room door. She listens. She doesn't interrupt. The next morning, the twins are awake before sunrise. Oscar is blinking rapidly. Owen's lips are twitching. Small, silent spasms, like someone trying to remember how to form a word. Nathaniel arrives in the doorway. He doesn't know what compels him to come this early. Maybe it was the dream he had. Maybe it was the music lingering in his chest. He steps in and speaks. "Good morning, boys." Oscar turns his eyes toward him. Owen exhales. Not just breath, a sound. Soft, shaky, but unmistakable. Nathaniel freezes. Amara, standing between them, slowly turns. She doesn't smile. Instead, she says quietly, "Would you like to hold his hand?" Nathaniel nods. She steps aside. He kneels beside Owen's bed. His hand reaches out. The same hand that once signed multi-million-dollar deals without blinking. The same hand that built a tech empire. The same hand that couldn't hold Clara's when she passed. It trembles now. He places his palm gently over his son's hand, and Owen moves. His fingers wrap around his father's with barely any strength, but undeniable intention. Nathaniel chokes back a sound. It's not a sob, not yet, but it's the beginning of one. Oscar blinks. Twice. Then lifts his hand toward Amara. She takes it, and for the first time in 2 years, all three of them are connected. No machines, no charts, no commands. Just hands. Just presence. Later, when Nathaniel reviews the CCTV feed, he doesn't stop at the usual timestamp. He lets it play, long after Amara has left the room, long after the lights dim and the boys fall asleep. He watches the stillness, the peace. Then, something catches his eye. Oscar is humming. No sound, just the motion of his lips, matching the pattern of the lullaby. Nathaniel leans in. His breath catches. His sons are listening. They are remembering. And now, they are responding. He presses the back of his hand against his eyes. For the first time, he allows the tears to come. Not because he's afraid, but because he finally understands. Healing doesn't come with force. It comes with faith. It begins as breath. A simple exhale, but different. Owen's mouth opens slightly. His chest rises not just with air, but with something more, something like readiness. The morning is quiet. The lights in the nursery are dim. The air smells like the balm Amara rubbed on their necks before dawn. Everything is still, except his lips. They shape a sound. Nothing comes at first, just the hint of motion, a tremble at the edge of voice. Then, it's barely audible. The house doesn't register it. The motion sensors don't detect a change. But Amara hears it. She turns quickly. Her heart skips. Her breath catches. Owen is looking at her. She rushes to his side, but not with panic. With reverence. Oscar stirs. He blinks faster, eyes wide, as if he's trying to catch the sound in the air before it fades. Nathaniel is in the office, same as always. Except today, he hasn't turned on the monitors. He's reading Clara's notebook. Not skimming. Reading. Every word, every margin scribble, every coffee stain. He's tracing his wife's handwriting with his finger, whispering her words like they're scripture. The CCTV light blinks beside him. Recording. Downstairs, Amara kneels. Owen's fingers curl again, this time with more certainty. Ma. The air stops moving. Oscar turns his face toward his brother. Ma. Amara places her hand on his chest, tears rising fast now, but she doesn't weep. Not yet. She leans down close, whispering gently, "You're safe, baby." Say it again. Owen's brow furrows. His jaw trembles. "Mama." Oscar gasps. His mouth falls open in surprise. A sound comes from him, too. A laugh. Dry. Unformed. But real. A laugh that had been trapped beneath trauma for years. Amara falls to her knees. Oscar reaches for her. Owen tries to lift his arm. And at that moment, the house begins to change. It's not structural. The lights don't flicker. The walls don't shift. But something inside the foundation exhales, like a wound breathing for the first time after being bandaged. Nathaniel drops the notebook. The room around him fades. He sprints down the corridor. His shoes slap the marble. He bursts into the nursery, heart pounding like it did the night Clara died. Except this time, it's not fear. It's something more dangerous. Hope. He stops at the threshold. Amara is holding both boys. Tears on her cheeks. Oscar is making small, rhythmic noises, over and over. Owen is trying to say the word again. Mama. Nathaniel can't move. Amara doesn't speak. She just looks up at him. Their eyes meet. He walks forward, kneels. Owen's eyes land on him. And for the first time, Nathaniel hears his son try something new. He opens his mouth. And instead of mama, he tries a different sound. Da. Nathaniel's mouth trembles. Oscar watches him closely now. Da. Nathaniel presses both hands to his face. Tears leak through his fingers. Owen shifts again, this time with intention. Dada. Oscar laughs. The house breathes. Amara leans back, lets the father take their hands. For the first time in years, Nathaniel feels small fingers wrap around his. Clara, he whispers, breaking. They remember. He pulls them both into his arms. No cameras needed. No data. No specialists. Just presence. That afternoon, He sits by their bedside for hours. He doesn't check email. He doesn't call the board. He just sits, one boy in each arm, silent except for the occasional hum of Clara's lullaby from his lips. Amara watches from the doorway. She doesn't interrupt. She's done what she came to do. But she's not leaving. Not yet. That night, Nathaniel walks the house, room by room. He opens Clara's closet. He breathes in the faint scent of her perfume. He finds a stack of drawings the twins once made, scribbles mostly, but one catches his eye. 2 stick figures holding hands, a third one in between them, with a triangle dress. He smiles. Amara. He knows it. He folds the paper and keeps it in his breast pocket. When he returns to the nursery at midnight, Amara is asleep in the rocking chair. The twins are breathing evenly, peacefully. He doesn't turn on the lights. He just stands there. Then, quietly, he places the notebook on her lap and walks away. At 2 a.m., a soft hum rises again. But this time, it's not Amara. It's Owen, repeating the lullaby back to the room. Soft, broken, but clear. Oscar joins in, and the house listens, and the walls remember. And for the first time, the system doesn't need to record it, because it's real, because it's alive. The rain falls again, but this time it's different. Not heavy, not urgent, just gentle, as though the sky is weeping in relief. Nathaniel stands in the doorway of the nursery, barefoot. His shirt is wrinkled. He didn't sleep, didn't want to. The house that once buzzed with silent dread now feels still like a chapel just after the final prayer, when no one dares to speak because God is near. Oscar is already awake. So is Owen. No machines prompted them. No timed light. They simply woke and waited. Amara sits on the floor, legs folded, back straight. She doesn't touch them. She doesn't speak. She just holds the space. Nathaniel steps inside. He doesn't ask permission. He simply lowers himself to the floor beside her, knees cracking, hands resting on his thighs. For a while, no one speaks. Then, softly, Oscar makes a sound. Ah. Owen echoes. Ah. Nathaniel lets out a breath. His lips tremble. Amara leans slightly forward and hums just the note. The boys follow. A harmony of broken syllables and healing. Nathaniel watches them, eyes glassy. Clara, he whispers under his breath. They're singing. He stays there for almost an hour. The marble floor presses into his knees. He doesn't move. Because this moment is holy. He dares not break it. Amara finally speaks. Would you like to read to them today? Nathaniel looks at her like she's just asked him to walk into the ocean. I haven't read aloud since. I know, she says gently. But maybe they remember the sound of your voice. He nods, slowly. She passes him the green notebook. The page is worn, edges curled. He flips to a random entry, then begins. Soft, uneven. Today, Owen bit Oscar on the ear. It was not an accident. But when I asked him why, he pointed at the toy giraffe and said, he was in my spot. Oscar giggles. A real, full giggle. Nathaniel chokes on the next line. He laughs too, the sound foreign in his own throat. Owen claps once, just once, but loud enough to make everyone freeze. He looks at his hands, surprised by his own noise. Then does it again. Oscar tries, fails, then tries again. Nathaniel drops the notebook, leans forward, and helps him position his palms. Like this, he whispers. He claps once. Oscar follows. It's off rhythm, but perfect. Amara's hands rise slowly, not to interrupt but to praise. She claps too. Owen joins. And for 5 full minutes, the room is filled with awkward, beautiful applause. Not for anyone, but for presence itself. Later that day, Nathaniel finds himself staring at the grand hallway mirror. For years, he's avoided it. It's the one Clara used to check before leaving the house. He looks into it now and sees a man he almost doesn't recognize. Tired, older, but alive. He touches his reflection gently. Thank you, he whispers. Not to himself, but to her. Behind him, Amara appears quietly, like she always does. You look more like them now, she says. Nathaniel turns. Like who? Your boys. He doesn't understand at first. Then he does. They carry his eyes. But they're starting to carry something else too. His presence. Later that evening, he joins Amara in the kitchen. She's boiling water, peeling fruit, humming something low. He watches her move, graceful but grounded. "How did you know?" he asks. She doesn't turn. Know what? That they were still reachable. Amara sets down the knife, turns to him. "I didn't," she says, "but I believed." Nathaniel nods slowly. Faith. Something he used to scoff at. Something Clara used to hold in her bones. "I lost mine," he says. Amara smiles gently. "You paused it," she corrects. "Not lost, just paused." He leans against the counter. "What about you? What brought you here?" She pauses, thinks, then answers honestly. "I prayed for a place where someone needed me, where love was waiting for a voice." He stares at her. "And you think this house needed you?" She meets his eyes. "No," she says. "I think your sons chose me." That night, Nathaniel doesn't watch the CCTV. He deletes the app from his phone. He sits in the nursery, one arm draped over each boy, and reads aloud from a book about animals that Clara used to love. Oscar yawns. Owen rests his head on his father's chest. When they fall asleep, Nathaniel doesn't move. Not for a long, long time. At midnight, the rain starts again. But this time, no one stirs. Because inside this room, the storm has already passed. And something like God, quiet, still, infinite, has come to stay. The envelope is pale yellow, faded at the corners, tucked inside the back cover of the green notebook, as if Clara had placed it there with trembling fingers and a heart full of unfinished things. Amara finds it by accident. She's cleaning the nursery shelves when the notebook slips. As she catches it, the envelope slides out and lands softly on the floor like a breath that's been held for years. She picks it up slowly. No name on the front. No seal. Just weight. She doesn't open it. Not yet. She carries it down the hallway and stops outside the study. Nathaniel is inside, reading over an old family photo album. He's wearing the same grey sweater Clara once knit, the one he hadn't touched since the funeral. When he sees Amara, he stands. She holds out the envelope without a word. He takes it. The paper feels warm in his hand, as though the years haven't drained the love from the ink. He turns it over. Clara's handwriting is inside. He can tell already. She always pressed harder when she was emotional. The creases tell the story. He opens it. Silence swells between them like a sacred curtain. He reads, "My love, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay. I wanted to. God knows I fought to, but I also know you, and I know how quickly you turn grief into silence and silence into structure. I need you to fight that. Our boys, they need more than systems. They need someone who sees them not as broken machines, but as souls. I pray someone finds them, someone who brings warmth back into the walls of this house. And when they do, don't shut the door. Let them in. Let them love. And please try to love again, even if it's messy, even if it hurts. You are still needed, Nathaniel, even in the quiet. Even now, Clara." He reads it once, then again, then presses the page against his chest like it might stop his heart from breaking wide open. Amara doesn't speak. She just watches the man transform, not with drama, but with deep, soul-rattling stillness. He folds the letter slowly, looks at her. "I don't know how to be soft," he says. "You already are," she replies. He nods once, then walks past her, down the hallway into the nursery. Oscar is awake, legs curled beneath his blanket. Owen is humming, a soft, lopsided tune. Nathaniel sits between them. He doesn't speak. He just listens. Oscar reaches out, touches the hem of his sleeve. Owen lifts his hand toward his father's cheek. A clumsy attempt at connection, but it works. Nathaniel leans forward and presses his forehead gently against each of theirs. Amara steps back. She knows when she's not needed in the moment, but her heart is full. She walks to the garden, sits under the oak tree Clara planted 6 years ago, and cries, not from sorrow, from release. Inside, Nathaniel whispers to the twins, "I found her letter." Oscar blinks slowly. Owen breathes deep. "She chose right," Nathaniel adds. Later that evening, he finds Amara preparing tea in the kitchen. He watches her in silence for a while, then speaks. "I used to think healing came from control, from fixing." Amara looks up. "And now?" He walks to the stove, takes the kettle from her hand. "I think it comes from letting go." They sit in the small sunroom, sipping tea. No words for a long time. Then Amara says quietly, "You've changed." He shakes his head. "I'm still broken." She smiles softly. "So are most miracles." The lights flicker slightly, the house still adjusting to its new heartbeat. Upstairs, the twins sleep soundly. Their fingers occasionally twitch. Their lips move in quiet, sleeping syllables. Nathaniel stands and looks toward the hallway. "I want to keep you here," he says, not turning around. Amara lowers her cup. "You mean, on staff?" "No," he says, now facing her. "In their lives, in mine." Her breath catches. "Nathaniel, I'm not asking anything of you," he says quickly. "Not yet, just, please don't leave." She rises, takes a step forward, places her hand gently over his. "I wasn't planning to." The rain taps the glass again. Outside, the oak tree shivers under the weight of wind. But inside, warmth settles deep into the bones of the house. The kind that lasts. The kind that lingers. The house no longer powers down at midnight. For nearly 2 years, the lights dimmed automatically at 11:59 p. A schedule Clara once set to encourage better sleep rhythms. But after her passing, Nathaniel let the system run it like clockwork. Lights out, curtains down, rooms silent. Like morning on a timer. But tonight, at 12:03 a.m., the hallway glows. Soft amber light spills from under the nursery door. Not harsh, not artificial. Just enough to guide a parent's feet if he's walking in late from thinking too much. Nathaniel stands just outside that door, barefoot, in the same sweater he hasn't taken off for days. His hand hovers over the knob. Inside, Owen is awake. Oscar too. They aren't crying. They aren't calling out. They're humming, quiet. Together, Nathaniel opens the door. They stop. Their eyes find him. He doesn't speak. He crosses the room and sits between their beds like he always does now. Owen reaches for his wrist. Oscar touches his shoulder. Then Owen opens his mouth. "Mama." Oscar adds, "Dada." Nathaniel's throat closes. His eyes sting. "I'm here," he whispers. "We're all here now." Amara is watching from the monitor. She doesn't check the footage like a security guard anymore. She checks it like someone guarding a miracle, like someone watching over something too sacred to disturb. She sees Owen's face brighten. She sees Oscar's hand lift again. She closes the laptop slowly and lets herself smile. In the morning, Nathaniel invites her to breakfast, not in the service kitchen, in the real one. The dining room with 10 empty chairs that hasn't been used since Clara's funeral. Amara arrives in her usual soft sandals, eyes tired but peaceful. Nathaniel is already seated. One chair pulled out beside him. She pauses at the doorway. He stands. "I didn't know what you like," he says. "So I tried to cook everything." She looks at the table. Banana pancakes, boiled yam, sliced mangoes, a jug of papaya juice, a fresh teapot. She looks at him. "You cooked?" "I YouTubed," he admits. They both laugh. It's gentle, no shame, just honesty. They sit, eat, talk, but not about the boys, not about Clara, about Amara, about how she used to volunteer in church nurseries, about how she once dreamed of being a teacher, about how she ended up in caregiving not because it was easy, but because she knew how loneliness felt in the bones. Nathaniel listens, fully, not glancing at his watch, not interrupting, just being there. Midway through the meal, one of the maids steps into the doorway, hesitant. "Sir," she says softly. "The boys are—" Nathaniel is already up. He and Amara rush upstairs. The nursery is full of sound. Owen is humming again, louder now. Oscar is trying to clap, both arms wobbling with effort. When they see Nathaniel, they smile. Not a twitch, a real smile. "Dada," Owen says. "Mama," Oscar tries. Nathaniel drops to the floor, takes them both into his arms. He doesn't care about posture, doesn't care about tears. He weeps into their necks. "I hear you," he says. "I see you." Amara crouches beside them, and for the first time since she arrived, she cries too. Not silent tears, not controlled, real, shaking sobs, because she knows what this means. They've crossed over, from silence to sound, from watching to belonging. That night, Nathaniel writes a letter. He places it in the green notebook, on the last page. "To Clara, my love, I read your letter. I read it too late, but not so late that I couldn't follow it. You were right. About everything. The silence, the boys, the grief. Me. They're healing. We're healing. And it's because of her. You prayed someone would find them. Amara didn't just find them. She brought them back. Sometimes I feel you in the room. When they laugh, when they speak. I hope you see us. I hope you know I'm trying. I'm no longer afraid to love. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Thank you for giving me permission to let go. To try again. Nathaniel. He closes the notebook. Places it on the shelf between two picture frames. One of the boys as infants. One of Clara holding them both. He turns out the lights. But the hallway? The hallway stays lit. Because the house no longer sleeps in fear. It sleeps in peace. The morning begins like music. Not loud. Not grand. Just the quiet rhythm of spoons in bowls, slippers on stairs, breath over steaming mugs. Amara stands by the window, tying back the curtains. Light spills onto the floor like grace. In the nursery, the twins are already sitting up. On their own. Not for long, only a few seconds, but long enough for Nathaniel to freeze at the doorway. Lips parted, heart thudding like it did on the day they were born. He calls softly. Good morning. Oscar turns. Owen waves. Amara kneels beside them. I see two strong boys, she whispers. And two miracles. Oscar giggles. Then he says it. Clear. Unshaken. Mama. Owen looks at her. Nods once, then echoes. Mama. Amara doesn't move at first. She just stares at them. Mama, Oscar says again, reaching for her hand. Owen follows suit. Mama, he whispers, voice catching halfway through like it still remembers the silence it came from. Amara breaks. Her knees buckle. She falls into them, gathering both boys in her arms, weeping into their necks. Thank you, Lord, she says, over and over, breath shaking. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Nathaniel watches from the door, tears slipping silently down his face. He doesn't interrupt. He knows what this moment is. It is sacred. They have chosen her, fully, not because she fed them, not because she bathed them, but because she stayed, because she listened, because she loved. She is not their biological mother, but she is the mother their healing chose, and that is something no system can simulate, no camera can capture, no will or inheritance can define. Later that day, Nathaniel walks the garden path with her. It's mid-afternoon. The air smells of rain and soil and newness. He carries two notebooks, Clara's and a blank one. He stops under the oak tree, hands her the blank one. I want you to write now, he says softly. Amara blinks. For them? For us? He replies. So they'll never forget how this happened, who showed up when everyone else left. She turns the cover, touches the first page. I'm not a writer. He smiles. Neither was Clara, not really, but she wrote what mattered. Amara looks up at the branches overhead, swaying gently in the wind like a canopy of witnesses. She writes her name, then writes, They called me Mama today. I will never recover from the sound. That night, Nathaniel cooks again. Simple stew. Too salty. Amara eats it anyway. The boys fall asleep faster than usual, tired from joy, exhausted from healing. Their cheeks are warm. Their dreams are soft. Nathaniel tucks them in, kisses their foreheads, whispers, Good night, my sons. Before he leaves the room, he turns to Amara. She's still in the rocking chair. She hasn't moved since they fell asleep. He walks over, kneels, not to speak, just to be beside her. The clock ticks past midnight. Neither of them notices, because the room feels eternal, as if heaven leaned a little closer, as if Clara never really left, as if love, once buried in grief, had found breath again. It's a quiet Sunday morning, the kind of morning Clara used to love, when the house smelled like warm bread and soft soap, and the boys giggled from behind half-closed doors. But today, the laughter is real, present. Oscar's voice is louder now, still thin, still airy, but full of effort and joy. He's trying to sing the lullaby. Not just hum it, sing it. Owen claps along, offbeat, his eyes darting between Amara and Nathaniel like he's checking to see if he's doing it right. He is. They both are. Nathaniel stands at the kitchen counter, wearing an apron for the first time in his life. There's flour on his shirt and a smile in his chest. 2 spoons of sugar, he mutters, squinting at Amara's handwritten recipe. 3, she calls out, not looking up from where she's brushing the boy's hair, one head at a time. He adjusts, shrugs. I'm a work in progress. Amara smiles without turning. So are we all. After breakfast, the 4 of them walk the garden path together. Oscar in Nathaniel's arms, Owen nestled on Amara's hip. The sunlight slips between tree branches. The wind brushes their cheeks like a mother's hand. There's no plan today, no program, just presence. At the oak tree, Nathaniel pauses, looks up. I've been thinking, he says quietly. Amara turns to him. About what? He shifts the boy in his arms, careful not to break the moment. I want to do something permanent, not a gesture, not a plaque, a decision. She waits, patient, soft. I want them to carry your name. Amara blinks. What? The boys, he says again. I want them to have your name, Amara, not just in their hearts. On paper, official. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. Nathaniel, you're not just a caretaker, he says. You're their mother. Tears rush to her eyes, sudden and uncontrollable. But, Clara, he steps forward, places a hand gently on her shoulder. She chose you too, he whispers. Long before I saw it. Amara's knees nearly give. She steadies herself with one arm around Owen. The wind hushes. The garden holds its breath. Oscar whispers it, clear as ever. Mama. And this time so does Owen. Mama. They say it in tandem, as if they've been waiting for this moment to arrive. As if love itself asked for witnesses. Nathaniel wraps one arm around her. She leans into him, eyes closed. They stand there, the 4 of them, under Clara's tree. A family that shouldn't have happened, but did. Not by blood, but by breath, by choice, by grace. Later that evening, Nathaniel unlocks Clara's study for the first time in years. He lets Amara step in first. There's dust, stillness, but also memory. Amara walks slowly to the old desk. The journals are still there, dozens, some hers, some blank. Nathaniel finds a photo frame buried under books. It's the last photo ever taken of the 4 of them, Clara, Nathaniel, and the twins, still crawling. He hands it to Amara. You belong here, he says. She doesn't reply. She just places the frame on the shelf. Beside a new one, a candid photo from just last week. Oscar and Owen asleep on her lap, Nathaniel behind them, eyes soft, hand resting over all 3. A new family, framed by healing. As night falls, the house doesn't shut down. The lights stay on in the hallway, the doors stay open, and in the nursery, where silence once reigned, there is music now. Lullabies sung in half-formed words. Giggles, claps, footsteps light ones. Oscar takes 2 full steps from the bed to Amara's arms. Owen holds Nathaniel's fingers and follows. They're walking, they're singing, they're calling her Mama. And he, Dada. Nathaniel watches from the doorway, one hand over his mouth, tears streaking his face. There are no cameras running, no footage being saved. But it doesn't matter. This moment isn't meant for screens. It's meant for souls. He steps inside, takes her hand, whispers, "Let's stay." She nods, and the house, once built on systems and sorrow, becomes at last a home.